I read things, and now I'm going to talk about what I thought about them. A review, if you will. I think I would like to do this structure of my videos from now on, you know, just 2 or 3 books all in one video as opposed to waiting until the end of the month when I have a bunch and the video is really long, but also not individual videos on every single book I read because that's a bit much. So I think this will be a good structure of reviews. The first book I read is The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury. This is a short story collection. They're all set in the future, they're all sort of science fiction-y, except none of them, or very few of them, take place on Earth. They're all sort of set in space or on Mars or on Venus, and yeah, I really like that. This book opens with a prologue that is one of my favourite prologues of all time. It's Ray Bradbury essentially meeting this man who has tattoos all over him, and he's known as the Illustrated Man. But what happens is at night his tattoos change and they move and they show the future, and then so every short story in this book is one of his tattoos that is showing the future. I loved this prologue. It's the perfect introduction, it's the perfect concept for a short story collection, and it gives the impression that all of these short stories seemingly take place in the same universe, and they actually subtly reference the same event in the stories, sort of indirectly. And short story collections are kind of hard to pull off, and I think that prologue made this collection feel more cohesive than other short stories. There was a wide variety of topics and tones. I tended to prefer the ones that were on the sort of sweeter side or on the more creepy side, rather than the social commentary ones, which felt a bit clunky to me. Some of the common themes were isolation, which makes sense when you're dealing with space, but to counteract that, there was also quite a common theme of family, which was done in a very non-over-the-top way. It's interesting to see Bradbury's earlier writing. I think this is his first short story collection, or at least one of his first, and it was, yeah, I don't think it's as polished as his later writing, and there were a couple that seemed to be precursors to Fahrenheit 451, but were still quite original in their own right. I found the first few a bit meh, and I was a bit disappointed, but as I kept reading I enjoyed it more and more, and I found them more and more exciting. I loved that many of them were really unpredictable, and each time I started a new one it would slowly unveil what it was actually about, and some of the imagery was absolutely amazing. Really vivid stuff that has been running through my head ever since I finished it. The next book I read was The Outsiders by S.E.Hinton. This I think is the only book that I was assigned in high school that I didn't read, and it just felt wrong, so I decided to read it. This book follows Pony Boy, who is a teenager, and his gang, who are called Greasers. I'm not sure if that's the gang name or if that's just sort of what that type of person is called. I wasn't quite sure. But 2 of the people in the gang are his brothers, and so there's lots of themes about family and sticking together and loyalty. Yeah, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this one. The plot went in a lot of unexpected places and the pace moved along really nicely. I was impressed by how quickly she built up the characters and who they were, considering S.E.Hinton was only like 17, I think, when she wrote it. It was written in the 1960s, so some of the dialogue is a little bit outdated, shall we say, but honestly it kind of just added to its charm. It's certainly not a complex novel, but definitely an enjoyable one. The last book I don't have, I listened to it as an audiobook, which is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. This book follows Christopher, who is a 15-year-old boy with Asperger's syndrome, and the novel is from his perspective. It's as if he's writing the novel, and it is an amazing narration. Like, it is an extremely empathetic novel. You are completely in his headspace and you see the world through his eyes. It is one of the most complete and just immersive books that I think I've ever read. It's very it's got very simple language, but there's actually kind of the point. He even explains in the novel why he hates metaphors and why he shan't be using them. It's sort of got 2 sides to the novel. On the one hand, it's a mystery novel. It opens with Christopher finding a dead dog in his neighborhood, in his street, But then on the other hand, it's not even really about the mystery. I mean, I was surprised when the mystery was revealed, but it wasn't about that. It's about this character and who he is and what he thinks about and how he thinks about it, and his relationship with the people around him in his life, with his family, with his dad. His father isn't perfect, and you see how having a son with Asperger's really does affect everything. Now, I'm not in a position to say whether this book is an accurate or an offensive representation of what it is like to be on the Asperger's autism spectrum. All I can say is that I thoroughly enjoyed this novel. It's one of my favourite novels of the year. I completely recommend it. As I said, I listened to the audiobook, which I highly recommend. It really helped to get me into that character's headspace. I think the narrator did a wonderful job. There was a lot of random facts in the novel which were very interesting, but I think could have been very dry if I was reading them just on text. But with the narration, with the audiobook, you could hear like Christopher's enthusiasm about this topic, because these are the facts that he's interested in and he's just sharing them with you, and that enthusiasm makes you enthused, and it kept me engaged even though it wasn't about plot or anything. It was just a fact that Christopher found interesting, and it actually really helped me to realise what Christopher really likes and what makes Christopher feel safe and happy. I ended up giving this book 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I will link the description to the audiobook below. It's on YouTube. It might be removed at any time, I don't know. Thank you for watching. Bye.